Good morning, afternoon, or evening, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Anaïs Frank, the founder of QualitaX, and I'm joined today by Stefan Rind, founder and CEO of Brickmark. Before we get started with introductions, and as a reminder, on today's call, we will explore how real-world asset tokenization is helping redefine the real estate industry. So about the format, we will have a presentation first for 10-15 minutes, followed by a conversation and Q&A. So please do not hesitate to share your questions in the chat as we go. So this is the fifth webinar of our Future of Financial Market Infrastructure series. Previously, we discussed the decentralized ID for tokenization framework, the DITO framework for short, with DigiShares and Polygon ID. We also discussed tokenization ventures from Franklin Templeton, WisdomTree, ABN AMRO with Stellar. Also, the use of blockchain technologies to enable real-time corporate treasury management for banks with the Atara team. And finally, the blockchain-based payment infrastructure with the UDPN team. So I will stop sharing my screen now and I will share my video and I will hand over to you, Stefan. If you could please introduce yourself and tell us a bit about what Brickmark is doing, and then you can share your screen for the presentation. You're on mute, I believe.
Okay, that's
Yes,
better now.
yes,
Can you hear me?
yes, perfect.
Thank you, Anaïs, for introducing me and for having me on your channel. It's my pleasure to talk to you about what's the latest in real world asset tokenization, especially with a focus on real estate. This is our focused area and where we have done already some big use cases over the last couple of years. If we talk about Brickmark, there's a quick overview of what we have done. We started the company in 2018, pretty early in the sector, and after 2 years, we were able to complete the largest single commercial property tokenization so far worldwide, which is the Bahnhofstraße 52, the building which you see just behind me right now. Since then we have done over 166 million transaction volumes in property-related tokenization. We are now looking at a pipeline of over 1 billion for the next 12 months. We have 25,000 registered investors already on the platform, people who have expressed their interest to be interested in looking at real estate-related token and investments in the future. Our vision is providing universal access to the world's prime real estate in a digital, secure, and efficient way. So, from my background, I was for 10 years CEO of a public real estate company in Germany, Colonia Real Estate. So I know real estate on the institutional level. We had about 4 billion of assets, mainly in residential real estate in our company at the time. And I was always very open to using new technologies. And one of the key drivers of Colonia Real Estate was securitization back in 2003, 4, 5, 6, which was an invention at the market as well. So regardless of your credit rating, you were able to put together blocks of properties and real estate and put it into a security, and then the security was issued on the capital markets, and therefore you received funding. And this really evolved the real estate industry at the time, because there was new ways of financing possible which haven't been before. And I think that tokenization is going to be the next evolutionary step of tokenization. We have seen over the last 12 months institutions like Blackstone entering the market, and Larry Fink pretty much said the same. He thinks that tokenization is the next evolution step of the capital markets. And if you look at the different reports and forecasts. This is Citigroup research from April last year. The numbers are huge. We talk about trillions over the next 6-7 years. And many people ask, okay, this is already something which has started in 2020, but never came off the ground. What was the reason? Why does it never really accelerated? Because, we clearly had to see that there was not the infrastructure and there was not the distribution channels. We hadn't had a digital exchange, fully regulated digital exchange like SDX in Switzerland before, where we could list the Bahnhofstrasse behind me, because from a volume point of view, 130 million would have been a good size for a regulated exchange, but it didn't exist. So just over the last 2 years, we have seen DLT legislation in many jurisdictions, Liechtenstein, Switzerland, definitely. Then we're still waiting for MiCA to become reality in the European markets. The UK now is working on new regulations to allow these form of digital securities to be issued on the public markets to private investors. So it took a time, but now, as you can see already, big players are positioning themselves, doing pilot projects from HSBC, Deutsche Bank, and others. So the industry is getting prepared, and I'm pretty sure that this year we will see some pretty large transaction in terms of tokenization. I mean, we have seen already the city of Basel and Zurich in a large pilot project in December last year. SDX, the Swiss Digital Exchange, in cooperation with the Swiss National Bank, were able to provide the first wholesale CBDC, central bank digital currency. This is the first transaction worldwide where, like, the official stable coin of a country, central bank currency has been used. So there's 2 very interesting projects we are working on right now for the second quarter of this year on SDX with SDX. But you will also see another player in Switzerland coming up, BX Digital or BX Swiss. This is the Bern Stock Exchange, who have been filed as a DLT distribution platform with FINMA last year, and we expect their approval to be granted over the next 2 or 3 months. And then you will also have a smaller segment for small to mid-size tokenized issues on the market. So 5 million, 10 million, up to 50 million. Smaller sizes, and BX Swiss, like their mother company, Börse Stuttgart in Germany, they are dedicated for small and mid-size investors. So this is kind of the target market, which we also need to have the distribution channel in place. This is just a brief overview, which we have worked on with McKinsey. What are actually the benefits for property owners, investors, and service providers when it comes to tokenization? I think it's a good overview where you can see, improved capital efficiency for asset owners as well as for investors, democratization of access and wealth. People will get access to properties to invest, which they haven't been able to invest before because just the minimum investment was 7 digits. Operational cost savings is a big issue. That's also a big driver for us to implement solutions within asset owners and asset providers, whether it's been insurance companies or property funds. And last but not least, it's definitely also ESG enhancement. So one of the projects we're working on right now is a digitized green bond on a property portfolio. Green bonds are getting pretty famous right now because many institutional investors need to have minimum allocations in ESG compliant investments, and there's not enough product in the market right now. And if you are thinking of issuing a green bond with the approval by independent authorities that it's green and the underlying portfolio is compliant with ESG legislation, then tokenization is actually a booster because ESG is not only environmental, it's also social and governance. And if you look at the characteristics of tokenization, by enabling also small investors with ticket sizes of 100 or 1,000 Swiss francs or euros, you help giving access to these investments through a broad range of people who have never been accessed before. So that's clearly a social component, increasing your ESG standards. And in terms of governance, clearly a public blockchain is transparent. It records all transactions from the first trade on until real time today. And it's immutable. So in terms of governance, if an issuer decides to also have a tokenized security, digital security on the market, then social and governance aspects are being boosted clearly. So if you look at the heart of our technology, it's the Brickgate platform, which we developed initially for ourselves. This is now the third generation, and now it's a modular platform which enables, on the blue hand side, the property owners to become his own issuer of digital security. So we provide the infrastructure, and the infrastructure includes not only the tokenization engine, but also KYC AML module with third-party providers the issuer can choose from, as well as payment providers, i.e. banks, and custody solutions. And then you can pick and choose what module is suitable for you, and it's all included in a one-stop shopping solution, which is Brickgate. And once the token or the NFT is minted, you generally, as an issuer, have three ways to place your tokens. It's through a direct placement. So some of our clients already have distribution channels, mainly traditional ones, but also digital ones. So that's a very good tool for you in the future to market your product not only on a national or domestic basis, but also internationally. So if regulation and jurisdiction allows, you can easily access investors in the UAE, in Latin America, in the US, if you comply with SEC rules. So all of a sudden, your product becomes a global product with very few investments to be needed. And it's just then about marketing and regulations to fulfill whatever is needed. Then there's an increasing number of broker-dealer platforms like T0 or others, which offer these kind of services, bringing product and investors together. So we have signed up about 4 of these platforms over the last 12 months, one in Singapore and Southeast Asia, another one in Switzerland, T0 in the US. So we are trying to broaden the distribution network also for issuers to reach as much potential investors as possible. And then the third way, of course, is the King's way. It's if you really list your product then with a prospectus and legal authority on a regulated exchange like SDX or BX Swiss in Switzerland. But we will see soon other exchanges as well. We have seen transactions over the last 6 months in Japan. Tokyo Stock Exchange has started a digital section. Australia, Hong Kong, and others will join. So for, let's say, assets and tokens with volumes of, let's say, 30, 40, 50 million plus, here is a fully regulated digital solutions on a regulated exchange. This is a kind of overview of our tokenization practice. So how does that tokenization process work from A to B? So it's about it's 3 phases basically. So it's the initiation, where the issuer has a portfolio or in a single asset and wants to do the tokenization. So it's about structuring the asset. It's about doing a due diligence on the asset, looking at the cash flows, discussing with the issuer what is his purpose. Does he want to exit the assets partially or full? Is he looking for a financing? So you also can issue debt tokens or mezzanine tokens for additional financing on an existing asset. And then we help structuring the token. And that usually comes in cooperation with the legal counsel of the issuer. If the issuer doesn't have a legal counsel which is familiar with digital assets, we work with units within legal companies like PwC or other companies who can provide tax or legal advice in this area. And then we go into the configuration and tokenization state, whereby we then do the smart contracting. We decide with the issuer what kind of blockchain is most suitable. Mainly, we work with Ethereum, but we lately also have Polygon or even Stellar as blockchain. So we are agnostic on our platform in terms of blockchain. We just know what kind of blockchains usually work well, but we're open. At the end of the day, it's the issuer's choice. And once the tokenization has been taking place, so there's a bank account set up where investors can send either fiat currency or Bitcoin or Ethereum, for example, as payment, and then the minting takes place, and the digital assets will be transferred in the investor's account, whether he has self-custody solutions like a MetaMask wallet, or we can also provide secure solutions together with banks if needed and if the client wants this. And then the third circle starts. It's the operational period. So it's life cycle management. So whether you tokenize shares or bonds, there's potential voting rights by the investors. There's dividend payments, interest payments, burning of token after redemptions. And the platform is completely managing the whole process for you as an issuer. The issuer has a dashboard where he can look on a real-time basis what kind of investors holds which kind of position in which token. And once you onboard and you choose the multi-issuer variation on our platform, you can issue your own tokens more or less on a monthly basis.
Okay.
And that's part of the platform services. So looking into use cases, so this is the Bahnhofstraße use case we did in 2020. For us, it was proof of concept. It works, and it's still the largest single commercial building which has ever been tokenized yet. We had a couple of universities also using this as a use case. And since then, we're looking further. So this is one of the projects in the UK, a very well-known property next to Westminster. So there's a tokenization in preparation right now, where the issuer will offer a subordinated note on the building. The building will be available for short-term renting, run by a very well-known hotel operator, and is offering a 7% annual coupon, and anticipates that over 5 years, the investor will return more than 11% per annum return on this mansion house. We also have seen digital bonds. This is issues which have been taking place on the Swiss Digital Exchange over the last 15 months. UBS has done a very big issue in November 22. Then we saw the city of Lugano, and then just lately in December, the city of Basel and the city of Zurich issuing 100 million each. And as far as I know, There's new issues coming up very soon. And I'm pretty sure that we will reach 1 billion in tokenized securities volume on SDX over the next 12 months. The interesting thing, which I think is also a good blueprint for the market, is that if you issue a security on SDX, it doesn't matter whether it's digitized or not. So you can tokenize a bond, and the bond can be subscribed in a digital format as a token or in a traditional form. And the SIX SDX settlement system allows for both. And then later on, even if you sign up, let's say you are a pension fund and you don't have the digital infrastructure in place, you can actually switch anytime during the lifetime of the bond from the traditional into the digital version and back, and vice versa, depending on where the best liquidity is available. I think that's a very important aspect to the whole thing, because it allows also institutional investors to test the market, to get into it, and then build their infrastructure over time. So there is no stress, to enter in the market. And it's not a question of you have to be digital and have the fully digital infrastructure in place. It's more like you could, and you can get into it and then start from scratch. So I think that's very important. So we usually try to structure all the offerings on our platform also, as well as traditional and digital form. Over the next years, you'll probably see that, let's say, if you place 10 or 20 million on the platform, maybe the digital tranches are 30, 40%. But I'm very sure that in 5 to 10 years, the digital part of the issue will go to like 80, 90, or 100%. Here,
Stefan, just one moment. I see that David we don't usually do that, has a lot of
yeah,
questions, and his hand was raised here for a couple of minutes now. So, David, do you want to ask some of your questions before you have to go, and then we'll go back to the presentation? Because I think it could benefit all attendees. Are you able to ask your questions in the chat before you go? No, we cannot hear you. Are you sure that you are not on mute? So what I propose, if there are issues with the audio, is that you write your questions and I will read them and Stefan will answer them.
yeah.
So if you can ask your first question and we will address it.
There's only 2 more slides, Anais.
Okay. Yes, please go ahead then. Okay, David.
Okay.
Apologies for everybody else. Yes, go ahead. Go
Okay.
ahead, Stefan. Thank you.
Yeah. So this is just a summary here, and the presentation will be recorded as well, so you can look at it later on with more time. It's kind of an overview of what are the benefits from tokenization for improving ESG standards overall. And then I think it's also interesting to give you a little outlook of how the future will look like. So in the future, you will have a mobile application. This is for the investors who onboard on our platform. So it's pretty much like an online banking account where you do the KYC AML process. You see a variety of projects and tokens available. You can click on it. You can get a detailed description of it, anticipated yield. You can look at the white paper. You can invest, and then you have, like, it from your online banking or crypto account. You have the summary of your token with the daily value of the token in your account. So this is in the final stages and coming up probably in May, June. And yeah, that's about it. And I think having the quote from one of the head of strategy of Societe Generale, it's everything will be tokenized in the future, and pretty much so the current exchanges will be taken by the digital infrastructure. So a very exciting future.
Very exciting. Thank you for sharing this very insightful presentation. David, I think we were able to hear you now. So You can ask your.
I think I've managed to solve the mute problem. It was
Okay, great.
pretty simple in the end. Just press the unmute button. I had to find it. I don't normally use Zoom. I'm a Teams and Google Meet guy, so apologies for that. Taking a bit of time. Can you see me on video at all?
We cannot see you. Well, I cannot see you on video, but I can hear you very clearly. So you should go ahead and ask your question.
Okay, great. Well, a number of questions, but just a quick thank you very much, Stefan, for that. I know I joined slightly late. I was on the call, but I was really interested in finding out a little bit more about obviously Brickmark and what you bring to the tokenization space. I've been an investor personally for probably 4 or 5 years within this space. I used to work in real estate investments, and now actually I've taken on a role as head of blockchain at an executive search firm. So I am by nature a recruiter. I've done a lot of recruitment over the years within financial services and real estate. So I was interested in obviously listening to what you've got to say about the future of tokenization, because I believe it's going to be the standard. So I think we're on the same page there. I do think there's going to be challenges, and I've been speaking to a lot of people in your position, CEO, founder of tokenization platforms, and there are going to be a lot of challenges. My couple of questions to you. Just bear with me. So that's my phone. Firstly, in terms of the compliance and legislation side of things, how have you overcome some of that across the European market so far? Because that's a lot of problems I'm finding when I'm speaking to tokenization platform providers. Compliance is key. So can you just elaborate a little bit more on that one for me?
Yes, sure. Yeah, I mean, I can tell from practice, and it has been rough times and difficult times as well. It's getting better now, but when we go back just 3 years, 4 years ago, when we did Bahnhofstrasse, it was kind of a nightmare, where even the Swiss regulators in some areas didn't respond for 6 months on requests on
Right.
tokenization issues. I mean, this is like ridiculous. But it has changed, and it's kind of standardized processes which are kind of implemented. I mean, clearly from a European perspective, I'm German, but I live in Switzerland now for 12 years. And because I was running a public real estate company in Germany, there's a lot of people in Germany who want to do that kind of business as well and see the future there. But you have different levels. I mean, clearly, Switzerland and Liechtenstein are kind of leading if you look at the European markets right now, because we have DLT blockchain laws in place on a national level since 2020 or 2021 in Switzerland. And based on that, you have like 100% security in terms of transferability, custody rights, and so forth. So that's a perfect world in Switzerland and Liechtenstein right now. But we're a little bit far away from that in Germany or in the other European countries. MiCAR is in the market now since 4 years, regulation for markets and crypto assets. We still see divergence in terms of definition, security token, crypto securities. I mean, it's still kind of a Babylon situation you still have, but you can work your way through. So for now, you cannot tokenize, for example, shares in Germany. So this has just been started in first pilot projects. So far, only bonds and funds were allowed to be tokenized. But clearly, we have on the European level, MiCAR, and then on national level, EWPAG. So it's catching up. In some areas, there are still differences between the local law and the European law, which I think needs to be harmonized as soon as possible. I'm also part of the German blockchain initiative, and helping to kind of harmonize these technical issues as well as legal and language issues. But it's coming. I mean, clearly Switzerland is leading right now the pack, but also in Europe and in Germany, you can start tokenizing on participation rights on a contractual basis. And at the end of the day, we can only help you. We're not allowed to give tax or regulatory advice as a platform. But talking to lawyers, it's possible. I mean, right now we're working on a project in Italy where an Italian real estate fund is going to be tokenized, and a real estate fund. And yeah, there are some cross jurisdictions because somehow national law is not synchronized with MiCA and vice versa. But yeah, there will be standardized processes, and in some cases there are already.
Okay, great. Thank you,
Thank
Stefan.
you. Thanks, Stefan.
David, one moment, please, because we have many questions from other attendees, so I will come back to you.
Yeah, I'll just say thank you. Just saying thank you.
Oh, okay, great, great.
My pleasure.
We will come back to you because I know you have other questions. So Vladimir is asking, how do you provide and support liquidity for the issued token so investor has the opportunity to exit at any time? So is it part of the offering or the support provided by the platform or not?
No, not yet. We cannot do it because to do it, you need like a licensed financial institution, broker dealer, or you need to have a banking license. So this is actually what happens on the broker dealer platforms like a T0, where you already have, in some cases, market makers. So we help you in accessing distribution channels, or if you talk to broker dealer platforms to make sure that there's like a market making system in your token, and you have to qualify for that. But we don't do it ourselves. So we help you get introductions, but we don't do it ourselves.
Okay, very clear. Veronica is asking, who is a custodian for the tokenized shares?
Yeah, so we have 4 different solutions. So if you don't, as an investor, if you don't choose to use your own wallet, for example, you can choose from a variety of options. One is with Incor Bank, they have a custody solution, which is based on Metaco. And there's another custody solutions where we use Fireblocks. So it's Metaco, Fireblocks, or self-storage.
Self-custody, yes. Fuad is asking, can you tell us a bit about the rules and regulations in EU, you did, and USA and Dubai, if possible? So, and I know you will be around the region, so it's actually a very relevant question.
Yeah, I'm gonna be in Dubai and Abu Dhabi next week, actually. Yeah, I mean, this is a question where we can fill an own webinar with, I think. In general, in the EU, we already have financial and regulatory approval with our platform on issuing tokens in Germany, Austria, Switzerland, and Liechtenstein. Now it's Italy coming. Again, I mean, in Europe, you don't have like a European law so far. You have national laws, and then by the end of the year, hopefully this year, we will see MiCA giving like a broad regulation basis for the market. So it's unfortunately, it's not one market right now. And here again, I can tell you from experience that Switzerland and Liechtenstein are kind of delivering right now really safe and secure and easy to implement structures. And in some cases, issuers also think about having their properties in outside of Switzerland and creating like a Swiss holding company, which then tokenize its shares or debt and then issue it on the Swiss market. And then even people in the UAE, for example, could invest in these tokens, but you go through a structural setup, a legal setup in Switzerland. The US, yeah, it's an ongoing battle. I mean, you have seen the difficulties of really big players to launch just a simple ETF on Bitcoin. What we have seen in the US right now, and there's still a critical view from SEC on this market, is there are potential filings where you can issue digital security, i.e. a token of up to $75 million also for retail investors. That's possible. There's one issue which we have been part of the whole issuing process, So it's possible to do it. T0, for example, did it themselves. And I think in the real world, if you tokenize a real world asset, it's a better position than if you come from the crypto side. So in the real world, my experience and my advice is clearly you position yourself as an issuer of a security, whether it's a digital or traditional security, doesn't matter. So you are comply with the SEC view. This is an asset, it's going to be tokenized, and then you have to follow securities law. If you go with this, it's much, much easier. Many people have tried to circumvent the legislation on securities and a tight investor protection situation, and that has caused all the issues over the last year. If you go frank and say, okay, we know it's a security and we will comply with our security laws, it's much easier. Dubai, I'm going to be there next week as well to get an update. A lot of infrastructure from a regulator point of view is implemented right now. Now it's about providing the perfect infrastructure for that. And as you know, the UAE, I mean, when they decide to do something, they want to do it the best way possible. So money is not an issue, and so they are looking right now for first tier, top tier infrastructure providers to license their models into their market. It's been built up. There's also bank and big asset managers involved. So I'm pretty positive about the UAE. We know from the past that if they really want to implement something quickly, they can do it. And I expect, I mean, also a digital exchange, a regulated digital exchange over the next 12 to 15 months, which from my point of view will really accelerate, real world asset tokenization in the UAE in the next 2 or 3 years. So they have a lot of catch-up potential. I'm very positive on it.
That's great. I don't know if you've seen in the chat, but Fuad is proposing to meet up with you in Dubai when you will be there. So I will take it offline. We have a question regarding standard, which I'm particularly interested in. So what token standard, this is a question from Samuel, is being used for the tokenization process, especially on Ethereum, because we have ERC 3643, which was initiated by Tokeny. We have ERC 1400, we have Polymesh. So what current standard is Brigade using?
Here again, I mean, we use what the client wants. If the client does have a preference, we give advice. So we still work with ERC 20.
Okay.
We also work with ERC 3643. We think it's a very interesting option. So here again, you can see that we are open also with other tokenization platforms to exchange. I don't actually see real competition in that because the market is so great. And I'm more a fan of cooperation and collaboration, just to explore and deepen the market. And also thanks to Veronica, who posted something in the chat room that there is the Electronic Securities Act, EWPAG, in Germany. So yeah, things are getting better, and we'll see how Mika then will put all together. So yeah, that are the typical standards we're working with.
Okay.
So we try to avoid experiences here, because explaining an issuer what tokenization means, we always try to keep risk and fantasy at a low level.
Of course.
So we work with a solution which have been already working, but yeah, 3643 I think is a big invention. Yeah, we like it too.
Yes, because what I think, and this is personal view, this market will need is more transparency in reporting. And if there are not like some standardization, one for implementation integration purposes, just to speed up and reduce cost when integrating with different partners, but two, being able to see what is being done on permissionless chain. So Ethereum, Polygon, everything deployed on permission is another ballgame altogether. But it will be great to have more visibility and being able to track by industry, by asset type of asset class, etc. And that's something that, yes, Qualita X and with Tokeny is also working on to make this happen. So we have another question from David relating to growth. So just to clarify, Brickmark right now is really engaged with institutional players, but on your roadmap, you do have a path for retail investors to be more engaged, and you also showed the mobile app. So the question is, are you looking to utilize your network? I'm not sure what network, David, you're referring to. Block Square are adopting an ambassador program for distribution.
I can elaborate if you want, but
Yeah, sure.
yeah, I think I've made myself clear that Block Square, who I'm quite in touch with quite a lot at the moment, I think they're doing some really good work in Europe and elsewhere. Actually, they're adopting a ambassador program in terms of regional hubs. They're looking for ambassadors to obviously grow and bring on institutional investors, of course, but also commercial and residential properties onto their platform or utilizing their Ocean Point white label platform. I just wanted to know whether that's something of interest for you, and are you looking at that or that sort of distribution technique?
This is one way, and we're definitely open. We can talk about it. Another way, of course, is I mean, just to give you an example, we just got 2 weeks ago a request from India, public company, like family conglomerate, over 30 billion market cap. And in India, we have also recently seen a change in legislation. So there will be the first tokenization pilot projects. And, I don't need to elaborate on the potential of India in terms of people and asset base out there. This could be a huge market, and it's just getting up. So here, and as well as we did in Kenya, for example, as well as we did in Singapore and Indonesia, we're working on a licensing basis. So we look for partners in jurisdictions who already have a network, regulatory, legal background, or access to the market. And then we license the platform, and then the platform, which is, fully functional and up and ready from a tokenization point of view, needs to be tokenized, needs to be customized on a local level. So local jurisdictions, regulatory issues needs to be implemented, but then a partner with an existing network and an asset base, for example, in this jurisdiction can really start and start within 2 or 3 months and being operational. So that's something we're looking at right now. And our chief business officer is also, looking for expanding this licensing program in other countries and jurisdictions right now. But yeah, distribution, I think, is key. Tokenization is not a rocket science. At the end of the day, it's about building the ecosystem around it. And the one who provides the best ecosystems in terms of access to exchanges, to financial payment and custody providers, and finally, of course, the best distribution channels will lead the pack. And this is one of the reasons why we choose. I mean, of course, our platform is agnostic in terms of tokenization, so we can tokenize Rolex watches as well as artworks and Ferraris. But we decided to stick into the real estate world with a focus on it and environmental friendly investment products, because that's what we as the founders and the team behind it do for like 20-30 years. So we have partners there, we have the knowledge, and when we talk to someone about a real estate project tokenization, we understand the cash flows, we understand what it takes and how you can prepare attractive product. I think someone who can tokenize everything knows probably nothing about the underlying asset base. And then, is it a suitable product? Is it going to be attractive in the market? Question mark. So yeah, this is the basis, and happy to discuss working together in the future, David.
Yes, so David will be in India for those who are interested.
Thank you, Stefan.
How are you? Great. I'm just cautious of time. So Going into 2024, Stefan, what do you see are the biggest opportunities, but also biggest challenges that Brickmark, but also ecosystem partners will have to face?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the biggest challenges in the market right now, on one hand, is to be able to attract interesting projects, i.e. assets, because if you have an attractive asset, you will find also investors and buyers for it. And on the other hand, the other challenge is the distribution side. So expanding the distribution side, getting into, market maker situations which can provide liquidity. Here again, I mean, we are talking closely with like big Swiss, the Bern Stock Exchange, which launched their digital exchange soon. And there's like big banks already, like Fontobel and other banks, who expressed their interest to act as market makers and distributors to their high network individuals, clients in the future, with good products. So here we go. I think bringing these two parts together, the supply, high quality supply, and you actually really have to make sure as a platform right now that the projects have gone through a due diligence, there's an independent valuation. So you don't want to issue like fake projects in the beginning, which then, go bust in a very short period of time. So we have quite high quality standards on the supply side. And then on the distribution side, taking on, reputed partners in various jurisdictions and areas, to increase the distribution side and make it easier for token issuers to find the right investors.
Yeah, so talking about distribution, how far are we from working with automated market makers? So there are DeFi protocols such as Uniswap who have now implemented a layer, like the regulatory layer, and they engage and work with big and well-known established institutional players. How far are we from seeing a tokenized on the Brickgate platform to land on Uniswap? Do you think? Is it a couple, like 2, 3, 5 years?
No, I think we're not that far away.
Not that far away. Okay.
No, I'm rather in the 2-year
A
range than
2-year
the
range.
4-year range. No, I really like this concept. I'm a big fan of decentralized exchanges and marketplaces. I think Uniswap is a great invention. There's other projects also in the Swiss region who want to adopt these ideas. Of course, it's always right now, you're kind of dealing with regulations and decentralized finance. And for regulators, DeFi or decentralized or DAOs are kind of nightmares because they cannot really catch them. It's against their mindset, kind of. But I think in the future, there will be both worlds. And if you go into the regulated markets, and if you deal with institutions, insurance companies, and pension funds, they have no chance to become a pure player in a decentralized world just because of their regulations and authorities on top of them, which allow them to do business.
Yeah.
If they would infringe their rules, they would be out of business. So they have no choice. So in the future, I clearly see, centralized blockchain-based investment products, and I see decentralized, which is more for individual retail investors. I see both worlds. Of course, on the institutional world, if they start to switch the button from traditional into digital worlds, you see massive volumes because there's trillions of dollars right now locked in the centralized systems. And they will be locked in the centralized systems for many decades.
Yeah.
It's because just that's the law. But on the other hand, we will see also a fast-growing decentralized market for, private and individual issuers dealing with individual investors. At the end of the day, it's going to be beneficiary because it will, for the first time in mankind, we will see like a diverse investment universe where people can pick and choose from various asset classes, various locations. So kind of a borderless investment universe. And that's the great thing. It will take some time, but think about it. It's not DeFi or not DeFi. There will be DeFi solutions and platforms, and there will be regulated platforms, centralized platforms. That's how the world is going to be built, and it's not going to be changed in the next 20, 30 years.
I do share your view, and along the same line, from your like customer's point of view, are they more inclined now to adopt and deploy on permissionless network, or is there still a sentiment that no, private permission where we have a level of control is better suited now until the level of maturity required in the permissionless space is there? Or is it actually no, people are comfortable now because of, I don't know, maybe you share with us why, adopting Ethereum, Polygon, and other permissionless network?
No, I'm with you. I mean, you will see parallel worlds, and it will take time and maturity and education levels in the market that we can finally go to more DeFi applications, at least in the institutional world. It's going to be like that.
Yes. So Veronica said that DeFi will probably be regulated in the next MiCA, but this will take more than 2 years. Yes, so that's what you are saying as well. David has to go. Yes, okay, perfect. Well, David shared his email for those interested in reaching out to him. Thank you very much. So, we have less than 10 minutes left. So, are there any other questions? Because now is the opportunity to ask before we conclude. I will give a couple of seconds. Please raise your hand or write it in the chat. Write them in the chat. No? Okay. Is there anything, Stefan, that you would like to share with us before we conclude?
I think we touched a lot of issues today,
Yeah.
and there was good questions from the audience. I hope we could provide good answers as well. Yeah, it's an exciting market environment. What really strikes me right now is that we're on a mission since 5 years, almost 6 years right now, and the market has really changed. So many institutions and many big players we have chased for years are now coming to us. And they see there's a movement going on, and if they are not catching up soon, the train will leave the station without them. So that's a good thing. So we see some sort of FOMO in the market right now. Yeah, it helps us at the end of the day, to expand our services. And, one of the biggest issues and missions on our side is education, take
Yes,
away the
education.
fear. And the more people we get into pilot projects, so far, people who have started pilot projects, there was no one who has gone back from the solution. So once you understand the benefits of tokenization and blockchain technology when it comes to asset fractionalization and tokenization, you will never go back, because cost efficiency, market reach, I mean, there's so much benefits, and it's secure as well because of the infrastructure in place. So yeah, I see that market momentum drastically changing in favor of solutions in the digital world, and that's a good thing, because it will, at the end of the day, transform more and more people to become also big fans of decentralized finance and digital solutions.
Yes, thank you very much, sorry, Stefan. Jawad is saying that they are working on similar lines in Pakistan, UAE, and Saudi Arabia. So he's looking forward to connect with you to discuss this further. So, Stefan,
Yeah.
thank you very much for taking the time to share your knowledge, experience, and your ideas with us as well. If anybody has more questions, how do they contact you, your team? Can they reach out on LinkedIn, or is there an email address that you want to share with us in the chat?
Yeah, I'm just putting it in. Well, you can see it here on the slide. It's
Yes, YouTube. Sorry.
sw@brickmark.net,
Yes.
but I'll push it also again in the chart, and then Yeah, it's so nice. I mean, I already had some emails before actually the webinar today took place.
Oh, that's
Um,
great to know.
So since I was traveling, I'm a little bit behind in answering, but I will answer it and looking forward to discuss with you.
Yeah. Thank you
Anna,
very
thank
much.
you very much.
Thank you to the attendees. You're very much welcome, Fiona. Thank you for the feedback and enjoy the rest of your day, everyone. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.